right, hello everyone. How is everybody today? Happy Tuesday. Hope you're having a wonderful day. And I am going to get my chat pulled up here so I can see what you guys are chit-chatting about. But I've got a question that I'm going to ask you guys in just a little bit. So hold on with me here, but let me get my chat pulled up here. Let's see what you guys are up to. See what you guys are talking about. And welcome in, everyone. Welcome in. All right, so let me go ahead and get that up and running here. Let's see, you guys. I'm not seeing my chat just yet. Let me go ahead and see what we got going on here. All right. Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day. Hopefully you are ready to do some nails today. Hopefully you are excited. All right, here we go. Looks like oops, I think I got my chat here. Hang on a second. There we go. All right, you guys. Good morning, good evening. If you're in Denmark, welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. So today we're going to be doing some basic application, and then we're going to take the basic application and we're going to do a little bit more design work today. So you guys, we're starting off with the basics, and then we're going to get into some designs. The design that I'm going to be doing today for you guys is a Wicked inspired design. So those of you that have seen the Wicked movie and love that, the new one is coming out. So we're going to be doing the design inspired by Glinda's dress. Now you guys, here's my question for you. And it has nothing to do with nails, but sometimes we have other conversations here. So my question for you is it pronounced Glinda or Galinda? Let me know in the chat which one you think it is, because you guys, I'm still not sure. I've seen the first movie and I'm still not quite sure. So let me know in the chat if it's Glinda or Galinda. Moderators, I don't know if we need to do a poll on this, but you guys, I gotta know. I have to know how to properly say her name. And we're going to be talking about her a little bit later in the class. So welcome in, everybody. Let's go ahead and get started prepping our nails. I'm going to start by pushing back the cuticles and just gently, just a quick push back. We're not going to spend a ton of time on that. We don't need to, because what we're going to do, instead of using excess time with the cuticle pusher, is we are going to grab our e-file. And we're going to grab a medium grit sanding band. And guys, I'm going to change out my sanding band here. I always want to make sure that I grab a clean, fresh, brand new sanding band. So this way I'm going to have the proper grit on my sanding band, and I'm also going to have a nice clean tool to be using. All right, you guys, looks like you guys are all voting in the poll there. Thank you. I need the information, so I say the word properly. All right, so we are going to turn our electric file to I'm going to actually go with about 3,000 to 4,000 RPMs with our new e-file. And we're going to work just right up around our cuticle area. And this is how we're going to clean up that cuticle. We're not going to spend all that time with our cuticle pusher trying to scrape everything off the nail or anything like that. We're just going to go through gently with our, like I said, our medium grit sanding band, just gently around that cuticle area, and then we're going to feather through the rest of the body of the nail. Now today we're going to be doing some acrylic nails. And you guys, I know we do a lot of acrylic here, but I think there's so much education out there and information that you guys, it's important to see it over and over again. And if you're new to our channel, welcome. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you join our community and get the free education. All right, so we've just gently gone through, started by pushing back the cuticles. We've removed the shine from the nails with our electric file. We're going to dust off those nails, get as much of that dust off of there as we can. And then we're going to grab our swipe. And swipe is our cleanser. You guys, I'm getting low on my swipe here. I need to refill that. It does come in a refill size bottle, so if you are a salon worker, if you're a full-time tech in salon, you can definitely get those refill sizes to fill up your bottles. But swipe is our cleanser. And this is what we're going to use to remove any excess dust that still may be on the nails, any oils that may be on the nails, or any germs and bacteria. So we want to make sure to give those nails a really good scrub, really cleansing those completely so that we've got a nice clean space to work on. Now, we're going to do a coat of our protein bond. Let me come in nice and close. You guys, we don't use a primer. Protein bond is a bonder, so it's not a methacrylic acid primer like a lot of other products use. So the difference, again, this one doesn't have that methacrylic acid, but this works more like a double-sided tape. So it's going to stick down to that natural nail, but then it's going to leave a sticky surface for our product to adhere to. And when we're working with acrylics, I do like to do 2 coats of my protein bond. So this way I just have really good adhesion all the way through that whole nail. And I know that I've got a good application all the way through. So 2 coats is what I'm going to use for our acrylics today. And notice that as I apply my protein bond, I start in the center of the nail, work out to the sides, and then I work back towards that cuticle area. This way what happens is I don't flood that product onto the cuticle. I get that good application, smooth application all the way through the nail, but I don't have excess that's going to run or flood back to that cuticle and touch the skin or anything like that. So even though this is not a primer, it doesn't have that methacrylic acid to it, it is still a chemical, and we still want to make sure that we're keeping our chemicals off the skin and keeping the client nice and safe. So whether it's your primer, hopefully you're not using a primer, hopefully you're working with young nails, but whatever product you are using, make sure that you are keeping that off the skin, okay? All right, are we ready to sculpt? I think we are ready to sculpt, so I am going to grab one of our forms. I'm going to take that center tab out, stick that right on the back side, and we're going to just pinch together those 2 little silver tabs. Okay, you guys, I see our poll is complete. So the correct pronunciation that I need to be using today for our Wicked themed nails is Glinda. Okay, so it's not Galinda. She did change it. All right, you guys, thank you for your votes in there. Thank you for joining in our fun today. All right, so with our form, we're going to be creating, I'm going to show you just kind of a little preview of what we're going to be creating. We're going to be creating a little bit of a, I'm going to say an almond, maybe a medium length almond nail. So when we're creating an almond length nail, I'm going to pinch the end of my form together, and I'm actually going to pinch that a little bit shorter because we're not going to be bringing our product all the way to the end of the form. So we're going to shorten that up just a little bit. I'm going to open that form up a little. I'm going to open up that top perforation. And you guys, I'm going to show you this from the side view. So we're going to start with our form. I'm not just going to shove that form right up underneath the nail. A lot of times what happens is if you just shove that form up under there, first of all, do you see that angle that my form is? It's actually coming at an upward angle. It's coming up this way. I don't want my form to come up. I want it to come straight out from that natural nail. Now the other thing that can happen when if you do take that form and just shove that under that free edge like that, a lot of times what can happen is you're going to poke down into that eponychium. That's the skin that's underneath your nail. That's a very delicate skin, and we don't want to just shove that form up underneath there. We want to be a little bit more careful with that. So what we're going to do, instead of just shoving that straight up underneath there, I'm going to start with my form at a slight downward angle. I'm going to bring that up underneath that natural nail, catch that natural nail, and then I'm going to lift up on the end of the form. That's going to bring my form flush right up underneath that natural nail, and it's not going to leave a gap underneath. Okay, so now you can see from the front side. So how I would normally do this, not from the side view, I'm going to take my form. Again, I'm going to just kind of hold my client on the sides here. I'm going to bring that form up underneath, lift up at the end, rock that form up, and then secure that down on the sides. So that's how I'm going to get my form on to the nail. So I'm just going to pinch that a little bit tighter right underneath, so this way I've got a really nice curve to my form and it's not flared out or anything at the sides. Okay, so to start with, you guys, what I'm going to be working with is our Cover Pink acrylic. Now this is what I've got on our 2 solid color nails here that I'm going to show you how to do. So I'm going to show you guys a lot of the basics of application with the Cover Pink, because when you're working with Cover Pink is more of a medium setting powder, so you've got a little bit more time to work with it. But then when we do our design nail, I'm going to show you guys the Speed Clear. And I feel like it's a lot easier to really perfect and really learn the techniques with the Cover Pink, because like I said, it is a little bit of a more of a medium setting product. So if you're a beginner, a medium setting product is going to be a little bit easier to work with than the Speed, which is a little bit faster setting. And it's also going to be a little bit easier to see as we're applying the Cover Pink than it is to be with the Speed Clear. And you guys will see that when I get into the second half of our demo here today. So I've got my Dappen dish, I've got my monomer. We're going to go ahead and fill up our Dappen dish. Now I'm only going to fill this maybe about halfway or so. And you guys actually look, I don't know if you can even see this or not, but I was doing some nails earlier today and I have a little bit of glitter still in my Dappen dish. Anytime I use my Dappen dish with glitter, I always want to make sure that I am getting that glitter cleaned out before I go on to maybe a Cover Pink application. Now, if I had a little bit of monomer still left in there, I would also soak that up and I would clean that old monomer out. I always want to start with a nice, clean, fresh Dappen dish. No glitter in there, no monomer in there. So always start with nice, clean, fresh product. Okay. I'm going to take my monomer and we'll go ahead and pour that in. I'm just going to touch my brush to the top of the bottle and then pour straight down my brush. This is going to help me to keep from spilling my product down the side of my bottle. So we're going to just fill that up, not quite halfway. And let's go ahead and grab our Cover Pink. So you guys, just really quickly before we actually get into the application, I want to show you a couple of techniques on how to pick up the pearl. So especially if you're new to doing nails, if you're new to doing acrylic, first thing we're going to start with is just kind of dabbing the brush down into that monomer, down into that liquid, and that's going to release any air bubbles that may have been trapped in our brush. So this way we're not going to get air bubbles in our nail. We're going to tap the back side of the brush, and that's going to release the liquid. The more I tap the brush, the more liquid is going to release, the smaller the pearl of acrylic I'm going to pick up. So if I want a large pearl, I'm going to just tap the back side once. If I want maybe a medium pearl, I'll tap twice. If I want a small pearl, I'll tap maybe 3 times. So every time I tap the brush, it's going to drain out liquid out of there, and I'm going to be able to pick up a smaller pearl. So to start with, if you want that larger pearl, you're going to press once on the back side, turn your brush over. You guys, let me show you this nice and close. How I'm going to pick up the pearl, I'm not going to just jab my brush down in there. I'm not going to swirl my brush around. I'm not going to scoop or scrape down in there. That's going to make a big mess on my brush, and I don't want that, okay? I want to keep my brush clean and usable and not clogged with acrylic. So again, we're going to dab down into our liquid, release any air bubbles, tap out the back side of my brush. I'm going to tap down my powder so it's a nice smooth surface. I'm going to take my brush, I'm going to turn it over because I tapped the liquid out of the back side. Now I want to use the front side of my brush to actually pick up that product. So again, tap the back side, turn my brush over. I'm going to do kind of a press and pull motion in one. So pressing and pulling all in one motion. So press and pull, and then I'm going to bounce, bounce, bounce. And that's how I'm going to be able to pick up that nice consistent pearl, okay? Again, if you're wanting to pick up a smaller pearl, same thing, tap down our powder. We're going to tap out the back side once, twice, even if you want to even smaller, maybe a 3rd time, press and pull, bounce, bounce, bounce. So with that smaller pearl, I'm not using as much pressure when I'm bouncing into the powder, and I'm only using, guys, I want you to see this really nice and close. I'm only using that dark area at the point of the brush. So if you're trying to pick up maybe a larger pearl, you're going to use more of that darker area. If you're picking up a smaller pearl, you're going to use maybe a smaller part of that area. Okay, so I hope that makes sense because I want you guys to really understand how to actually pick up the pearl. And then we want to make sure that we're applying it in the proper consistency. Now, when we're working over a form, forms are a little bit more kind of slick feeling. So if we take our pearl and we pick that up, I'll show you guys this real quick. press and pull, bounce, bounce, bounce. So if we take that pearl and just set that right onto our form right away, you're going to notice how quickly that product is going to run. So how fast it's going to move, it's going to flow. I have to really kind of control it. I have to chase it in order to get it where I want it. And it's still flowing, it's still running. And probably also what's going to happen is I'm going to clog up my brush trying to keep that product in place, and it's going to get stuck in my brush, and then my brush is going to get dirty. So I'm first of all want to make sure I clean out my brush really well. But to keep our product more controllable when we're working on the forms, what I'm going to do is bring the product more to a clay form. So we're going to tap out the back side of my brush. I'm going to turn that over. I'm going to press and pull, bounce, bounce, bounce. I'm going to let that powder absorb into the pearl. Then I'm going to take my brush, I'm going to set the back side of it onto the table towel, and that's going to drain out some of that extra liquid, okay? And it's going to bring it to, and you can actually see, it's a little bit more kind of a matte look to it, and it's a little bit more dried out, I'll just say, okay? So when we pick up the pearl and we bring it to more of a clay form, press and pull, bounce, 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 allow that powder to absorb, drain 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we set that onto our form. What's going to happen is my product is going to soften a little bit. You can start to see it kind of melting out, but now I don't have to chase it quite as much. It's got, like I say, a little bit more of a clay-like feel to it. I can mold that product, I can move that around, and it's not going to run out of control. So that's exactly what we want when we're working on our form. So let me show you guys this actually on the nail. Let me readjust here real quick so you guys can see a little bit better. Okay, so again, we're going to pick up our pearl. We're going to press and pull, bounce, bounce, bounce. Oops, you guys, there was a little tiny chunk of something on my brush there. I'm going to wipe that out. And I'm actually going to change out my towel here. I always want to make sure that I'm wiping my brush on a nice clean space on my table towels, not right over that same spot where I've been wiping over and over. We don't want our brush getting clogged, and keeping your brush clean starts by wiping on that towel. Okay, so we're going to, again, press and pull, bounce, bounce, bounce. I'm going to let that powder absorb. I'm going to drain the liquid. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to set that right onto the form. I'm going to clean out my brush. I want you guys to make sure you can see this. I'm going to press that product. There's a little air bubble. Press out that air bubble, making sure that my product is even from side to side. And then I'm going to use the edge of my brush to tuck in. And then I'm going to walk that product up into the corner. Tuck in on the side, walk up into the corner. Tuck in on the side, walk in the corner. Now I'm going to come all the way across, pressing all the way across. Tuck in on that side, walk up into the corner. Tuck in on the side, up into the corner. Now I'm going to start to press and pull that product down the length of the form so I can create more of that almond shape. Just bringing that to that little point that we pinched into our form, using the edge of my brush to tuck in on those sides, creating a little bit more of a tapered shape, a little bit more of that almond shape, pressing over the surface, and now I'm just going to blend through that. And this is going to help to, again, pull a little bit more of that product right to the point, but it's also going to help to kind of smooth that product out and, again, create an even thickness from side to side. Okay, tucking in on the side, bringing that a little bit more to a point. You guys, don't worry if you don't get your shape perfect right at that point. We're going to use the electric file to clean that up and to shape that up. So it's not a big deal if you don't get your shaping perfect. That's okay. Okay. All right. So we're going to take our second pearl. Now, with our second pearl, we're going to be working at our cuticle area. We're going to angle the finger straight down, and I'm going to be able to use the point of my brush to press out my acrylic at my cuticle area, and I'm going to allow that product to flow down the length of the nail. Now, because I want it to flow, this time I'm not going to drain out the liquid. We're still going to pick up the pearl the same way. This time I'm just going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm going to set that onto the nail. Now again, I did not drain out that extra liquid. I don't want to bring this pearl to a clay-like form, but I want to give it just a couple of seconds to just start to polymerize. So just start to come together. Okay, so again, press and pull, bounce, bounce, bounce. I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. Now it actually looks like a pearl. I'm going to set that right at my cuticle area, put some pressure on. I'm going to use the point of my brush, press, press all the way around that cuticle area. If your product sticks to your brush, wipe out your brush, okay? But pressing all around that cuticle area, just gently. And again, having that nail angled downward, my product is going to flow downward. Once it stops moving, I'm going to pivot my brush on the side. I'm going to blend out my side here, wipe out my brush. I'm going to pivot my brush on the other side, blend my other side, and then I'm going to just gently pull the edge of that pearl to blend that into the free edge. Now, I know you guys are seeing this. There is a little bit of a dip right through here. That's okay. I'm going to fill that in. But what we want to happen at this point is we want that cuticle area nice and thin and tapered. We want our stress area a little bit thicker right through the center. And that's exactly what we've got, okay? Blending through to just kind of smooth out that edge. Now we're going to pick up another pearl, and we're going to do kind of in between what we did for the free edge and for the cuticle area. We're not going to completely drain out the liquid. We're going to press and pull, bounce, bounce. I'm just going to give it a quick tap. So 1, 2, that's all I need to drain out the liquid. Okay, so for our blending bead, right in through here, this one I don't want it to be completely clay-like, like our free edge was, but I don't want it as wet and mobile, self-leveling, that's a better word, self-leveling as our cuticle area. So we're gonna, again, do that right in between. So again, press and pull, bounce, bounce. I'm gonna just tap 1, 2. I'm gonna turn my brush around. I'm gonna set that right in that low spot and blend back. Blend back on the sides. I'm going to wipe out my brush, blend back on the sides, and again I'm going to now turn my brush back around. I'm going to press out the surface of that and then just gently blend forward. So that's how we're going to create that proper structure to our nail. Okay, let's go ahead and do a second one. That way you guys can see everything right on through. After our second one, then we're going to get into a little bit more design. So we're going to start working with some colored acrylics and some glitters and some fun things. So, you guys, you do need to learn how to do the basics before you can get into all of the fun, crazy stuff. So you still need to be able to sculpt your nail. You still need to have the proper structure and the proper shaping and the proper consistency. So that's why I like to take you guys through a couple of these with the cover pink first before we actually get into our designs. And you guys, I think for some reason I'm not quite getting great focus here. So let me just do a quick readjustment. All right, let's give that a try. Okay, so again, we're gonna pick up our pearl. I'm going to press and pull, and I know you guys, there we go. Press and pull, bounce, bounce, bounce. I'm going to take that pearl, I'm going to drain that on my towel. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to set that right at my free edge. I'm going to wipe out my brush. I'm going to use the body of my brush to press that product even from side to side. Wipe out my brush. Use the edge of my brush to tuck in on the sides. Walk that up into the corner, tuck in on the sides, walk up into the corner, tuck in on the side. I'm going to come all the way back across. I'm kind of pressing and pulling as I go. Tuck in on the sides, walk up into the corner, tuck in on the sides. Now I'm going to come all the way back across again, making sure my product is nice and even from side to side. And now I'm going to just start to tuck in to that point. So that little point right down at my form, we're going to tuck those sides in. Pressing product from side to side to make sure everything is nice and even all the way across. Tuck in on the sides, tuck in on the sides. Just making sure that I've got a nice straight lower arch down at the edge here. We're going to blend through, making sure everything is nice and smooth and even. And if I need to, again, tuck in on those sides. Okay. Our next one, we're going to go ahead and pick up our second pearl. Same thing, we're going to press and pull, bounce, bounce, bounce. This one we're just going to wait. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to set that right down onto the nail. I'm going to wipe out my brush, use the point of my brush, press, press, and I pivot my brush a little bit on the sides to tuck in on the sides. Press, 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 pivot my brush on the side, letting that product flow down the length of my nail. I think I'm going to use a little bit more pressure on this side, but pivot my brush, and then we're going to blend out that side. Pivot my brush over here, blend that side, and then we're just going to gently blend out the edge of that pearl to leave a little bit of that thickness right through our stress area here, but then pulling and blending that down into our free edge. Okay, we're going to pick up our next pearl. Same thing, we're going to press and pull, bounce, bounce. Now this one we're going to just tap out a little bit of that liquid. I'm going to turn my brush around. I'm going to set that down onto the nail, blend back, blend back, blend back. I'm going to wipe out that brush, press, press, press across the nail, and then we'll blend out that edge. Now you guys, if you feel like you need a little bit more product back here and not so much up here, you can turn your brush around and you can blend back. That's going to pull your product a little bit thinner at the free edge, and it's going to make it a little bit thicker right there at the stress area. Okay, so those are our basic application techniques. Now let's get into a little bit more fun and design work. So we're going to do those same kind of techniques, but we're now going to add in our speed clear, and we're going to add in some glitters and some colored acrylics. So we're still going to start with our form. We're going to pinch our tabs together. We're going to pinch that form a little bit shorter. We're going to open up that top perforation and go ahead and get our form up underneath our nail. Bring that right up underneath there, lift up on the end to rock that up, and we're going to pinch that down on the sides. I'm going to pinch this just a little bit shorter. I think we want just a little bit of a shorter nail. Now, we're going to switch to our speed clear. So the reason that I say it's easier to practice with your cover pink is because with the speed clear, especially when you work on the form, it's a little bit trickier to see. So I want you guys to really practice with the cover pink, get your techniques down, and then you can start working with the speed clear. It's going to set a little bit faster, and it's going to be a little bit trickier to see. But if you know those techniques, if you know exactly how your product is going to work, then you're going to be able to do that. Now, for our design nails, so what we're going to do, we're going to be creating some dimensional nails with our glitter acrylics. So I'm going to grab my acrylics. Actually, you know what, you guys? I'm going to start with one step here first, one step at a time. So we're going to just build out a free edge, so kind of like we did on our forms here. But on these, I'm actually going to build it a little bit thinner. So I'm not going to pick up that large pearl like I did with the cover pink. I'm actually going to pick up maybe a medium-sized pearl. So with this one, I'm going to tap the back side once. I'm going to tap it a second time to release a little bit more of that liquid, because I'm not going to be creating a very thick application at this point. So again, we're going to press and pull, bounce, bounce. So a little bit smaller pearl. I'm still going to drain out that liquid. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you guys, when you're working with speed clear, it is going to set faster than your cover pink. So I'm going to actually do that one again because I think I was waiting a little bit too long as I was talking to you guys. So I'm going to go through and we'll pick up a second pearl, press and pull, bounce, bounce. I'm going to take that pearl, drain the liquid. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to set that right at my free edge. I'm going to wipe out my brush. I'm going to press that product from side to side. Again, tucking in on the side, walk up into the corner. Tuck in on the side, walk up into the corner. Now with this application, I want to make sure that I'm doing this very, very thin. I'm not trying to build up any structure with this pearl. I'm just trying to create a platform so I can put my colors and my glitters and things like that. And if you make your free edge too thick, what's going to happen is when you go to file, you're probably going to end up filing off your glitters and your colors, and you're going to file right down to that clear. So you want to make sure that you're applying your free edge very, very thin when you're working with dimensional looks and you're applying your glitters and things like that. So if you guys take a look, you can see that we only have that very, very thin application. We don't have a lot of structure. We don't have any thickness. It's basically coming right even with that natural nail. Okay. Now, the next thing that we're going to do a little bit differently when we're working with our dimensional nails is, come back out here. When we're using our colored acrylics, we've got some colored acrylics and glitter acrylics and things like that that we're going to be using. Anytime I'm putting glitter or color up on the natural nail, I always like to pick up just a very small, even a little bit smaller than that, very small wet pearl. So there we go. I set that right down at my cuticle area, press that out. I'm going to wipe out my brush. I'm going to blend that through. This way, again, it's not creating any structure, but what this is doing is just giving my nail a barrier. So when I go to change out my design, when I go to file off any color or anything that's on the nail, I'm going to only file down to that layer of clear. So this way, I'm not going to damage that natural nail. I'm not going to file into that natural nail. So it's going to be just a little bit more of a protective layer, okay? Now, I'm going to grab my colored acrylics here, and we've got, what do we got here? We've got our slick pour, you guys. And slick pour, if you don't know what slick pour is, it is actually our colored acrylic, but it is our dip system, but I use them for colored acrylics. So we've got Me Versus You, which is kind of our darker purple. And we've got Oracle Bones, which is our soft glittery pink. And we've got Magenta Blitz, kind of that brighter pink, kind of a magenta. We'll go with magenta. And Bahama Blitz, which is kind of our light blue teal kind of glitter. I've got Core White Sparkle, and you guys, it doesn't come in this jar, but I just have my, I use this as just as a container to put some of my colors in. So I've got my Core White Sparkle, and I also have a Mylar, and this one is called Other Side. So those are the colors that we're going to be using today. Now, you guys, I told you that this was a Glinda-inspired design. If you guys have seen the ads for all of the, the ads for Wicked, the new Wicked movie, you're going to see Glinda has a beautiful flowing gown on, and it is going to be all of these beautiful colors that we've got here. So we're just going to start to kind of swirl some of these together. And I'm going to start with just a small wet pearl. Now, you guys, let me come back out here. So you can see how I have my colors and things laid out here. I'm going to start with a small pearl of that pink. So we're just going to pick up just, whoops. You guys, did you see what happened? My pearl dropped into my liquid. I had too much liquid in my brush. So I actually need to take out a little bit more of that liquid from my brush, and we'll pick up that small pearl just like that. Now, let me come in a little bit closer so you guys can see what we're doing here. I'm going to pick up that small pearl. Got my small pearl. I'm going to set that right at my cuticle area. I'm going to press that out in my cuticle area, keeping it very, very thin. Now, when you're working with the colored acrylics, you want to make sure that you're keeping everything very thin, because we're still going to apply clear over the top of this to seal everything in, okay? But I'm just kind of fading out the edge of that pink. So just kind of ombreing that out a little bit, blending that out. Now, you can go with whatever colors you want to. And I think I'm going to start with, let's start with maybe a little bit of that blue. You guys. All right. There we go. Now you can see. Okay, so we got a little bit of that blue. It's still fairly wet. I'm going to set that down, just kind of blending that through. Now, when I do my color blends like this, I do keep that product very wet. So this way it's going to flow a little bit more. It's going to blend out a little bit more. If you want more solid coverage, then you can keep it a little bit on the drier side, okay? So it just kind of depends on how you want to work with it. Let's grab a little bit of that purple, kind of dab that in, again, keeping that fairly wet. And let's grab maybe a little bit of that magenta kind of color. Just kind of dab that in, swirling those together. And you guys, you can place your colors however you want to. but I think I'm going to add a little bit of my Core White Sparkle. Now Core, if you're using any of the Core powders, Core is a slower set. So these are definitely a slower set product, okay? Just going to kind of flow that through a little bit, just creating maybe a little bit of a shadow. But again, you guys, if you've seen Glinda's, if you've seen Glinda's new gown, it is absolutely beautiful, but she does have this shimmer that kind of runs through it. So just kind of tapping that Core White Sparkle right through to create that little bit of shimmer, maybe create a little bit of definition right in through there. I'm using a little bit more of the point of my brush to again create a little bit more definition. Now, as our product is still wet, I'm going to take my Mylar. I'm going to just touch my brush to the Mylar, and I'm going to set that right down into that wet acrylic. Now, you guys, I don't have anything on my brush. My brush is cleaned out. I wiped my brush. But just by tapping your brush onto that Mylar, you're going to be able to pick that up. Now, if you feel like maybe your Mylar isn't sticking to the nail, maybe the acrylic has dried a little bit too much, you can pick up just a very small pearl, a very wet pearl of your Speed Clear, and just blend that through. Just kind of blending that through that nail, and then you can pick up a little bit more of that Mylar and set that down in there. Now the Mylar, you can see it's not giving a lot of extra color at this point, but what it's going to do is once we cap this, it's going to really add glow. So you can kind of see as I turn that nail, let me come in nice and close. As I turn that nail, you're going to see where the light reflects on that Mylar. You're going to see that just magnified once we put our acrylic on, okay? So that is the design that we're going for. Now you guys, you can see I've been layering these colors on here and it's still very, very thin. That's exactly what we want. We didn't want to build up any thickness with those colors, because now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to kind of that same application that I was showing you originally of doing the overlay. But we're going to be working with our Speed Clear. So we're going to pick up our pearl. Come in here. Okay, we're going to pick up our pearl. We're going to press and pull, bounce, bounce, bounce. I'm going to wait 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to angle that finger straight down. I'm going to set that pearl down at my cuticle area. I'm going to press out my cuticle area, pivot my brush on the sides. I'm going to clean out my brush. I'm going to pivot my brush and I'm going to blend out the side, wipe out my brush, pivot my brush on the other side, wipe out my brush, and then just gently blending that pearl. We want to make sure that we're encapsulating, we're capping that glitter, we're sealing that glitter in so that when we go to do our filing, we're not going to file that glitter off. If you were to have just left that glitter without putting the clear over the top, you're going to do your filing and you're going to file all of your glitter off. So make sure that you are capping that product well enough. So just like we did on our first couple of nails, turn my brush around. I'm going to set that pearl down, blend back, blend back. I'm going to brush that out, pressing that out, bringing that all the way down to the end of the nail. Tuck in on the sides if you need to, tuck in on the sides, blend through. All right. Let's see. Was somebody asking what the colors were? You guys, the colors that I was using for the acrylic, these are our Slick Pour colors. So Slick Pour is technically our dip system, but they are colored acrylics. So I can only speak for young nails, but our dip powders are just a really ultra fine acrylic powder. So you can use them either with your monomer or you can use them as a dip. But either one, but this is what I'm using here today with my acrylic monomer. So let me close these up and then I'll tell you guys the name of them one more time, just in case you were wondering what they were. Okay, so the glitter that I'm using, or the Mylar that I'm using, this one is called Other Side. Then our magenta is Magenta Blitz. And then we've got Bahama Blitz. We've got Me Versus You. And we've got Oracle Bones. So those are our glitters and colors that we were using. And oh, you guys, I forgot, we also have Core White Sparkle, which is that that little bit of sparkle that I added with my my white over the design. Okay, all right, you guys. So at this point, you would normally go through and you would file out the nails. And you guys, if you want to see those techniques, if you want to see the filing techniques, we have a ton of different videos here on our YouTube channel to show you all of those different filing techniques. So make sure you subscribe to our channel. Go take a look at some of those videos. But I'm going to show you how I would finish this set. So I've got a couple of nails that I've already done, just like we did this last one here. So just same techniques, but I do want to show you how I would finish this as a set. So I'm going to show you a few other little art techniques here. But at this point, I've gone through, I've filed the nails with my electric file, and then I finished with my 150 grit hand file. Okay, so that's how I finished these nails. I'm going to take my swipe one more time, pump a little bit more of that onto my brush, and then we're going to dust those nails off and cleanse those nails really well. And when you do your cleansing, you can start to see that little bit of sparkle underneath there. But then we do have a couple of just those solid colors that cover pink acrylic. And, all right, you guys want to see some other designs here? I'm going to show you maybe a couple of just really quick and easy designs that you can add into your Glinda-inspired look. So we've got our protein bond. I'm going to apply one more coat of protein bond over the nails. And when I do my top coats, or if I'm going to apply gel polish, which is what I'm going to apply on our two pink nails here, I always like to add a coat of the protein bond, because this is going to help to really help your gel polish or your gel top coat adhere well to that filed enhancement. Now, I did not go through and buff. You don't need to buff with a buffer. All you need to do is file with your 150 grit file, okay? All right, I'm gonna wait to top coat these last two, but we're gonna show you a little bit of a design on the colored nails. But to do the design, I actually want a different background. So I'm gonna grab my gel polish, and we're gonna go ahead and polish on one, maybe two coats of our gel polish. And this one is called, what is this one called? This one is called Platonic. And this is actually a really pretty color if you want just a little bit more of a pink shade. So if you want a little bit more pink than the cover pink gave you, go ahead and apply one, maybe two coats of this, depending on the look that you're going for. And this is going to give you just a really pretty background. Now, if you want a little bit more of a sheer look, you can brush on just a very nice thin coat. Guys, I got a little bit of that gel polish right up on my cuticle area. I'm going to use my Polish Perfector detail brush to clean that off. But you can see how beautiful that, just that one coat of the color is. Now, if you do want a little bit richer color, if you want maybe a little bit more opaque, you can definitely do a second coat. It is a personal preference, but whichever works for you. But you guys, notice that as I work, a couple of things that are happening here. I did get a little bit of polish up on that skin. I'm going to clean that off here in just a second. But when I want to do more of a sheer coat, I still go through, I brush on my color all the way through, clean up that little edge there. But then watch what happens. It kind of looks a little bit streaky to start with, but then after I just let that set for just a second or two, it's going to really flow together and you're going to get a really beautiful smooth finish on there. So we're going to get that into the light, and I'm going to cure that for a minimum of 30 seconds. And then, you guys, let's see, I'm going to show you a couple of different things today. We're going to use our little bubbles. These are our little decals that we've got here, little gem nail stickers. And you guys, if you've seen the Wicked movies, you know that Glinda loves her bubble. So we've got some cute little bubbles that we're going to add on to our nail. You guys, if you're interested, we do also have some other great little decals here. We've got those little stars and sparkly things. We've got some teardrops, beautiful colors on there. We've got some other cute little stone looks. And you guys, these are very, very thin. So if you don't really love the texture when you're working with rhinestones and things like that, if you take a look from the side, you can see they're very, very thin, but they still give you that, that texture and dimensional look, okay? So we're gonna be working with that. I think I'm gonna add a second coat of color. So again, you guys, if you want a little bit more of a sheer look, you can do one coat of color. If you want a little bit more opaque, you can do a second coat of the color. So we're going to do a second coat, brushing all the way through. And you guys, I make my coats fairly thin because I want to keep my nail nice and thin. I don't want to be adding a lot of bulk to it. If you polish on your layers too thick, first of all, if it's really too thick, you're going to have issues with it curing, okay? So make sure that you're not applying it too thick. But then also, if it goes on too thick, it does add a little bit more bulk to the nail. So with our gel polish, it can be applied in very, very thin layers, and you're still going to get that really beautiful even coverage all the way through, okay? So we've got that one in the light. We're going to freeze that in there for a minimum of 30 seconds. Now, I'm going to show you another product. I'm going to do two quick designs here for you guys. So we're going to be working with our little bubbles that I was showing you. We've got those, but then I'm also going to do a second design on the other nail, and we're going to be using our striping gel paint. And what this has got gel paint in the bottle, and then it's got that really nice long striping brush. So you can paint in some really cute designs. And we're also going to be using Sea Spray glitter. And you guys, if you haven't used Sea Spray before, it is a beautiful sparkly glitter. It's probably one of my favorites. Now, at this point, with the designs that I'm going to be doing, I'm actually going to top coat my nails first, and then I'm going to do the design over the nail. So over the finished top coat. So you guys, those of you that know what time it is, let's go ahead and start the top coat chant in the chat. We're not done because we've got some designs to do kind of as almost a 3D look, but let's go ahead and start our top coat chant in the chat. If you're new to the channel, just go ahead and type in top coat, top coat, top coat, and that's how we seal our nails. You guys, if you haven't already, also make sure to hit that subscribe button, join our community, keep getting free education. See, Kim Murphy, you got it. You're right there. Yes, so you guys go ahead and type in top coat, top coat, top coat. We're going to finish the top coat on these, and then we'll go ahead and do the design over it. We're actually going to be doing a sugared look on one of the nails, and then we'll be doing our bubbles on the other nail. But when we're working and doing a sugared design, you do want to do that over a finished nail. You don't want to have anything that has a tacky surface to it, because then your glitter is going to stick everywhere except where you want it to stick. And that'll make a little bit more sense once we get into that design. But we're going to go ahead and get that back into the light. Again, a minimum of 30 seconds. Now you guys, as I'm working, I do say a minimum of 30 seconds because that's what it's going to take to freeze this into place. So it's not going to be completely cured, but it's just going to be set into place enough so that we can go on to our next step, okay? Crystal Glitterbug's asking, what is that blueberry icy? So this that I'm using right now, this is our top coat. That is not blueberry icy. The glitter that I was using though, that one is other side. So that was the glitter that I was using there, okay? All right. What do you guys want to see first? Do you want to see bubbles, or do you want to see my interpretation of Glinda's wand? Because you guys, if you have seen the new ads for the ads for the new Wicked movie, you've seen that she has a beautiful, beautiful sparkly wand. Let's go ahead and do the wand first. I think that's let's save that one for last. That's more sparkly, and I don't want to get glitter on this nail here. So let's go ahead and do our bubbles. So I'm going to grab my tweezer. And you guys, these are super cute, super easy to use. They're just little decals. And couple of different sizes. There you go, you can see a little bit better. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab those with my tweezer, peel those off, maybe. All right, so just grab, guys, I think I'm grabbing the wrong edge. There we go. There we go. Okay, so I'm just going to set those right onto, let me come in nice and close for you, right onto that top coat surface. Set that on there. And you can create whatever patterns you want. I think I'm just going to kind of grab some randomly here. Well, maybe this one I'm going to move just a little bit. But again, you guys, that top coat is set into place. It's not fully cured, but it's set into place. So I'm not going to smudge it when I'm applying my little bubbles here. So you don't have to worry about that. But just grabbing those, and maybe we'll do just a quick line right down the center. Now notice that I'm not really securing them completely. I just kind of hold them into place, and then this way I can make sure that everything is perfectly lined up. So if something is not lined up, just like that one, that is not straight, now I can move that right into place. So once I have them in place, then I will press them down a little bit more and secure them a little bit more. So you guys, I'm just using, I'm using our smaller ones. They do have some small, medium, and large little bubbles on there. So we're just going to apply a few more of those. And you guys, they're quick and easy. Right there. You can see how fast this actually does go. So once you kind of get into that routine of them, you can just pop them off, pop them on. Whoops, that one had a mind of its own. He wanted to go somewhere else. But just setting those right down onto the nail. So you guys, cute little bubbles for Glinda, because again, we know she loves her little bubble. And once we get these on, then I'll check and make sure. Do they all look right where I want them? Yes, they all look right where I want them. So then I can actually, you know what, instead of using my fingers, a better option is using your stamper. If you've got one of our stampers here, you can use that to just kind of roll over the surface to really press those down. But you guys, it's really not that big of a deal if you do use your finger, because again, that top coat underneath is cured. So you can just use the tool, that stamper, to stick those down really well. Now, if you feel you need to, I'm going to tell you guys, these things stick really, really well. But if you need to, I'm going to show you a quick little trick with these. If you feel like they're going to peel off, or maybe you're wanting to wear them for a much longer period of time, take a little bit of your top coat, pop that right onto your art palette. And I'm going to grab my micro detailer, and I'm going to just take a little bit of that. Actually, guys, this is a frayed out one. Let me find my good micro detailer. I have about 4 of these just because I like to use them for different things. But I'm going to take that micro detailer brush, and I can use a little bit of that top coat right around the base of each of those little stickers. But again, you guys, they stick on really, really well. So most of the time I don't apply that top coat over them. But if you need to, you can. Okay, so I just wanted to show you guys that. But like I said, most of the time I don't apply that top coat because they stick so well. Now, if you do apply the top coat, you do want to make sure that you are fully curing those. We will fully cure this in the light for our regular top coat to finish curing. But just so you guys can kind of see exactly how I would do that, okay? Now, our last design here, like I was telling you guys earlier, is going to be our Glinda's wand inspired. So we're going to start with our white gel paint. And again, this is our striping paint. I'm going to take that brush out of the bottle, just kind of run it around the top so that there's not any of that gel that's going to run down the stem. So again, just kind of run that around. I'm going to take out a little bit of the excess. I'm not all of it. I want to leave this a little bit thicker. So we're going to come here. I'm going to just trace in, And you guys, this is her wand inspired. So I'm not actually drawing her whole actual wand, but I'm going to start with just a nice line right down the center of my nail. I'm going to take a little bit more of that gel polish, and I'm going to start from one side, come across to the other side, create a line there. Now, you guys, at this point, I could just go through, create a line all the way through, but personally, I can actually do a better placement when I just start here, pull out to the side, take a little bit more of that gel polish or gel paint, pull down to the other side, and we'll go ahead and pull this side, and then this side here. Now, if you want to add a little bit more detail, you guys, you could add in some other little lines right in between. Create whatever kind of a look you want for her wand. Right in through there. Right through there. All right, I think I'm liking that. Then we're gonna take, oh, you guys, I gotta clean that off the skin there. Make sure to clean your skin off. Make sure that you're not leaving that gel to cure on the skin. Okay. All right, then we're gonna take our Sea Spray glitter, and I'm just gonna sprinkle this right over that wet gel. So let me come back, there we go. So just sprinkling that right over that wet gel. The wet gel is gonna pick up that glitter, and then we're gonna have that glitter in the nail. Now, I know it's not just sticking to the nail or just sticking to my design at this point. It does look like it's sticking to the whole nail, but we're gonna give that another cure in the light. We're gonna cure that for, actually at this point we would cure that for the full 60 seconds. I'm gonna give it just a quick freeze into place, cure that so that way you guys can see the final look. But then we're gonna use our manicure brush and just dust off that extra glitter, okay? So you wanna make sure that you go through, dust off that extra glitter, so that way you're gonna have your sugared look after it cures. All right, you guys, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Let me go ahead and dust that off. So now, like I said, we're gonna dust that off. So anywhere that we had that glitter on the on that nail is gonna come off because our top coat was cured underneath, okay? All right, you guys, there is our Glinda inspired design. We've got our beautiful colors that she's got in her dress. We've got her little bubbles, and we've got her gorgeous wand that she carries with her. So all kinds of fun things you can do. Let me come in a little bit closer here, see if we can get you a better view with all of those colors, all of the glitter. And you guys, the glitter just does not, camera doesn't do it justice, does not do these nails justice with that glitter and those sparkles. But hopefully you guys will take these designs and these inspiration and create your own designs. And those of you that are ready to see the Wicked movie, I hope you love it. I hope you enjoy it. And hopefully you'll have some beautiful nails that you can wear to the movie. All right, you guys, thanks for joining us today. We will see you guys back next time. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, join our community, and check your notifications so that you always know when we do go live. All right, guys, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.